Hello there, Brick Fanatics. I have here Series 28 of the Collectible Minifigures, and in this video we are going to be going through all of these. We're going to be unboxing all of them, having a look, and picking out a few favourites. This time around, the entire series of collectible minifigures are animal themed, with a bunch of different little minifigures dressed up in animal costumes. I'm going to be completely honest with you. These are not for me, and that's okay, because the entirety of the last series of collectible minifigures were Into the Spider-Verse related, and those were absolutely definitely for me. This time around, I feel like the age rating on these is no different. It is 5+, but I do feel like they skew a little bit younger because they appeal to LEGO fans of a particular slightly younger age. That's not to say that grown-ups aren't going to enjoy these as well. It's just I feel like these are a bit more accessible if you haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse, a film which is definitely not for 5-year-olds. Just to head you off in the comments, I'm aware that the last series was Across the Spider-Verse, not Into the Spider-Verse, but who cares? It's the same stuff. Anyway, despite the fact that I'm personally not too hugely fussed about having a bunch of animals, I know that a lot of LEGO fans are. These tend to be very popular. That's why the LEGO group keeps putting these animal costumes into the collectible minifigure series, and so having an entire series devoted just to these animal costumes makes complete sense. And I will say, for all that they're not necessarily my favourite of these kinds of minifigures to have, I do think that all of these costumes are particularly well designed. It's clear that a lot of budget have gone into these, a lot of attention has gone into these, and these designs definitely sparkle with a lot of the wit and the charm that you would expect of a collectible minifigure series. As someone then who's not particularly fussed about the animal masks and various different paraphernalia that come with these, the thing that really stood out for me with this series is how good the graphic design is on these characters' faces. You've got in each of these boxes one head. We've had multiple heads in various different series in the past, but there's just the one head in each of these boxes, and on either side they've got a face print. So there's one face on one side, one face on the other side, and all of these are absolute bangers, brilliantly designed minifigure faces with so much character to them. You would think that because all of these minifigures are just people in costumes, that the animal mask needs to do the heavy lifting here and not really anything else is necessary. The face is just an extra thing to have in the box just to complete the minifigure. But no, I really feel like you can get a sense of each of these individual characters' personalities. You can see who the monkey character is and how he's been a bit cheeky and got into a scrape and now is covered in bandages. Or you can see the adorable little goldfish girl who's just really happy to be here. You can see how all of the minifigures here are people dressed as animals rather than just being empty vessels for the animals to inhabit. That's my review in miniature, but now let's take a little time and appreciate every single one of these minifigures. We're going to be opening up these boxes using the Brick Search app. If you've been here before and you've seen one of these videos in the past, you'll know how this works. We're going to scan it, we're going to check what is inside the box, and then we're going to open it up and build the minifigure. Definitely, if you're after getting specific characters here, these are blind boxes, so they are sold basically at random, but if you can scan these codes you can find out what is inside each of these. So if there's a particular animal that you're desperate to get hold of, or if you're trying to complete an entire collection and you're trying to avoid duplicates, then you'll definitely want the Brick Search app. It also, I promise we're going to move on in a second, but it also has price comparison built into it now, so you can get in there and in addition to scanning for minifigures, you can build a little wish list. It'll tell you when various different sets go on sale. It'll tell you the best possible price for these sets, so it'll be useful for you beyond just the minifigure scanning. But minifigure scanning is what we're here for today, so let's have a look at these minifigures. So then, in no particular order, just the order that I happen to reach for these boxes, we scan the first one, and it is a peacock. Well, fantastic. We are starting with a very strong one, because this has got to be one of the more substantial offerings in this particular series, because it's got this brilliant, giant, large peacock tail here. This one, first off, by the way, we've got these green bases this time around, which is a nice thing to have. No printing on them, but they're something beyond just the normal standard black colour. But this minifigure in particular is the one that's got the most plastic in the box, I would guess, because it's got this huge big tail, and that tail is exactly what you would want from a peacock minifigure, because the whole point of a peacock is he's got to strut around looking very pleased with himself and showing off all of his tail feathers, and this one absolutely nails that. This one I think is interesting because it has uses beyond just being part of an animal menagerie. I like to think of what else these minifigures can be used for and whether there's an opportunity to swap around some parts here. I feel like parts of this will work very well for anybody who wants to create, for example, a Lego Mardi Gras scene. It just feels like that kind of costume. Beyond that, I also feel like this one, and probably a fair few of the others, are going to be very useful for anyone who wants to expand their Animal Crossing village or have some kind of Animal Crossing diorama scene, and you want to be able to put in a bunch of characters that otherwise haven't had the Lego treatment. Well, this is a good opportunity for that because there are definitely peacocks and various different peahens and other feathery animals in Animal Crossing, and this is a perfect opportunity to have one of those on display that we haven't necessarily had in Lego form up to this point. These wings we've seen before in different colours. These were used for Big Bird, and here we've got them in this set and we've got them in another set, and I think that they work absolutely very well for that. The downside to these animal costumes, and with these feathered ones and with the flippered ones, is they're not able to hold their accessory because they don't actually have hands, they just have wings or flippers. But that's really not a problem with this one in particular because the included accessory is so utterly forgettable that you would be forgiven for not putting it on display at all. It is a sunflower, it's made up of 3 little elements, it's a perfectly nice sunflower, and it's nice to have that sunflower moulded element, which is relatively new. It's just, it doesn't really fit with a peacock in any way, shape or form. So not only can the peacock not hold his accessory, he also has an accessory that just doesn't fit with him at all. Like, I was Googling sunflowers and peacocks to see if there was any kind of connection there that I wasn't aware of. There isn't. It's just a flower in with the peacock for some reason. Okay, that's going to be a running theme going forward with these minifigures, is they've got fun costumes. A lot of effort has really gone into the costumes here. The accessories can be a bit random, obscure or unnecessary, and they're not necessarily the coolest new things anyway. I don't think there are any new elements here apart from some printing for any of these accessories. So it is really just the animal costume itself and then maybe a few bricks extra in the box for the fun of it. Speaking of which, the next one we're going to open up is the frog, and this one has probably got the coolest, most interesting accessory that comes along with it. Even though it feels a little bit out of place, the frog is blowing bubbles. He's got a little pot of bubble juice and then he's got a little bubble wand and he's blowing a bubble, and I love the way that this effect has been achieved here, where he's blowing out that bubble and he's got a little perloid element on the end of it to show that the bubble is mid-formation. It is very, very clever. What do bubbles have to do with frogs? I guess there's bubbles in ponds. That's kind of about it. This would make more sense really with the goldfish, but for whatever reason this one's here with the frog instead, and it works perfectly fine with the frog. It is the coolest thing to have, and I love the little perloid element, and the fact that we had 2 in the box for this one was very exciting because then I've got a spare to play with. So that is really, really neat. The inclusion with the frog doesn't really make any sense, but I'm willing to overlook that because it is a cool accessory to have and one of the more interesting in this series. The frog himself, perfectly well designed. I think what's interesting here is that they've managed to come at this in a way that he doesn't just feel like Kermit again. He's got a slightly different design to him. His proportions are a bit different. He's got dots all up and down his back, which I think are really, really clever because they just give a little bit of that texture to the frog. It just adds a little something that you wouldn't get otherwise without these dots. And all in all, I'm quite pleased with this one. This is a really neat example of these cool facial expressions and the graphic design that's gone into the faces, because on the one hand you've got a relatively standard, straightforward Lego minifigure face, nothing out of the ordinary whatsoever, but then you turn him around and he's blowing a bubble, and that is a cool face that we have not had in Lego form, at least not in this kind of design, and that is really neat. So it gives you something that you've not had before if what you want to do is take the frog elements out of this minifigure entirely and then put it on a different torso and a different pair of legs, give it some hair or something, and then add it into your Lego scene as just somebody who's blowing some bubbles. I think that is a really cool face print, and I am really excited for that. Possibly, no, not necessarily more than the frog design, because I do quite like the frog design, but we're going to have this problem with a lot of these minifigures. Maybe the one that you like the best is not necessarily the minifigure that's the best designed, it's the one that is the animal that you like the best. I like frogs, so here we are with a frog minifigure. I'm quite happy with it. Moving from frogs to crocodiles, we have the crocodile next, and I really like the crocodile. It's got one of the coolest, biggest, most interesting masks to any of these characters. I'm calling them masks because they're not really headgear per se, but then a lot of them extend a lot further beyond just being a mask and go all the way down the minifigure's back as well, and that's the case with this crocodile. So there's a fair amount paramount to that mask. I love the teeth, I love just the design of this in general. I like how the minifigure has got a slightly different shade of lipstick than we're used to. We've got a kind of slightly shimmery pink there, which is very fun. It's not the most interesting of these minifigure face prints otherwise, but it is just nice to have a slightly different shade of lipstick there. But the thing that really makes this one stand out is that in addition to having that big cool crocodile costume to it, with the teeth and everything and the scales and the spikes all the way down the back, is you also get two more desirable of the accessories here. Not just one, but two. You've got a little rubber duck, and who doesn't love a little Lego rubber duck? I cannot get enough of these rubber ducks, so I'm very happy to have that. And then also a little floaty ring for going swimming, which if you look at any of the others of these minifigures, one of those would have sufficed. Either one of these accessories is better than, for example, the lion has, but you get two of them in here, so this one definitely feels like you're getting a little bit more bang for your buck, and I am very happy to see that. Now the next minifigure is the koala, and I really like the koala's face printing in particular. This might be the strongest of all of these face printings because it is really neat, because on the one side of this koala you've just got a fairly standard face, but then you flip him around and he's wearing a sleep mask and he is unconscious and he's got zzz all over his face, which is just brilliant. I think that that is really clever. Now apparently koalas sleep around 20 hours a day, so this is entirely fitting for the animal that this costume is representing, but also it's just really neat. And again, you can probably take that face off and put it on somebody else and incorporate it into a scene in a different way, and it doesn't feel fundamentally koala-ish. It doesn't have to be on a koala. Otherwise, the mask that comes with this one is absolutely fine, does the job. It's a koala, and then you've got a little leafy plant here, which I'm assuming has got to be a eucalyptus, right? Because that's all that koalas eat. It's got to be a eucalyptus. And then on the other side, because koalas are Australian, you've got a boomerang. And on the one hand, that is very stereotypical, but on the other hand, I really like this boomerang element, and I kind of want to put it in a scene with some Zelda minifigures, because that's one of the various different weapons that Link can get in the Legend of Zelda games. Now this one, alongside the goldfish, has got shorter legs rather than longer legs. I don't feel like it loses anything for that. I feel like it's entirely appropriate for the koala. And again, the fact that they're varying the heights of some of these minifigures does just give them a little bit more personality. It makes them feel like some thought has been put into who these characters are beyond just being the fleshy insides for an animal costume. Next up, we have a little scan and we've got the rabbit. And this one is interesting because presumably all of the other characters in this series are dressed up as just generic animals. I'm a lion, I'm a peacock, I'm a koala, whatever. This one isn't just any rabbit, this is the Easter Bunny. At least I have to assume it's the Easter Bunny because normal rabbits, I don't know if you're aware of this, don't carry baskets filled with coloured eggs. Now the logical accessory to come with a rabbit minifigure would have been a carrot. Actually, the LEGO Group has already done that in a previous series of the collectible minifigures, so clearly they were looking for something else here, and it just so happens that this particular series is going to be on store shelves during Easter this year, so why not? It's the Easter Bunny, and it works very well as the Easter Bunny. I can imagine that this headpiece in particular, this mask, is going to get some additional uses down the line, just as the previous rabbit minifigure did. The basket is fine, the printed egg is great, that's going to go very well on any kind of Easter display. And the minifigure itself, this costume is one of the more basic ones, but it does the job. I like that they've given the ear just a little bit of a fold down to make this one different from the previous rabbit, so that you're not just replaying the hits this time around, you're giving it a little bit of extra spice. It's not a huge amount, but it's enough. Now this minifigure has freckles on her printing, and she's not the only one in this series to have freckles, but it does just add that little bit of extra character, as I've said. It's not hugely unique, but it's just enough. And again, we've got some little legs here. This is a slightly younger minifigure, and that is brilliant. The fact that the designers have thought about this and decided which of these minifigures are going to be slightly older and which are going to be slightly younger does just help with that kind of character building, as said. Next up, we have the dolphin, and I feel like of all of these, the dolphin, maybe even more so than the bunny rabbit, feels like a sequel to one of the big hits from the collectible minifigures in days gone by. This one looks so much like the shark guy costume minifigure that we have had previously. I believe it was series 15. If I'm wrong on that, I'll put a little sign on the screen, but this one, it just looks like it is designed to be right next to the shark guy on a display. You've got the same flippers, you've got a very similar colour colour scheme and printing on the torso, like it's almost identical. And then you've got this mask which goes all the way down the back and has a little tail to it and has a little fin to it, of course, and it looks like it is meant to be next to the shark. It is perfect. Again, with this one, you've got some cool printing on the face. This one's wearing a little pair of sunnies. That's nice. And then on the other side is a very, very generic normal face, but I'm not going to complain. It's not that same slightly raised eyebrow smirk that you get from most female minifigures, but it is basically the same thing. I think that the big draw here is going to be that sunglasses face, because it is something that is slightly different. Maybe we've got little shades of Paradisa in there perhaps. And then of course the fact that this minifigure is basically a sequel to the shark. Then you've got the shell, which is the accessory for this one. We've seen the shell as an accessory for a collectible minifigure in the past. Normally it comes with the jeweled element inside. This time around it's got a different jewel. It's got one of these slightly flatter jewels to it. It is significantly harder to get back out of the shell if you want to move it around or show it off for a YouTube video. There we go. Okay, so this one, I don't know how well I'm going to be able to show you this, but that one is flat instead of having a little bar piece on the bottom for a minifigure to hold on to. It is pearlescent in colour. I've seen this element in a few sets recently. I feel like a trick was missed here by not putting in the frog minifigures accessory instead of this particular element. So if I take that and I just pop it in here, that is such a better little pearl inside a shell. It looks absolutely perfect. But as I put that in here, I think I may have discovered why that was not a good option. Yeah, you can't actually get the shell closed with that in there, so that's probably why it's not there. But if you do happen to get a spare and you feel like swapping these around, I think that if the shell is open, that looks absolutely perfect. The other one's a little bit flatter, so it actually fits, but that actually looks like a pearl in a shell. Next up, monkey. Now, monkeys and Lego, they just go together. There has been a long history of monkeys in Lego form and in minifigure scale in particular, going all the way back to the Pirates theme's earliest days, when we had a little minifigure monkey that had 4 little human hands in its little monkey paws. Over the years, we've had an update on that monkey, and of course, we've got the Monkey Kid theme, which is an entire theme focused around a kind of a monkey-human hybrid. So with this one, we've got something that has been seen in Lego form a bunch of times before, and I suppose the designers deserve a bit of credit here for showing some restraint and not just making this look like a classic Lego monkey. Instead, this is about as generic a looking monkey costume as you could possibly get. I think it works very well. Of course, his accessory is a banana. What else could it possibly have been? It is straightforward and it is simple, but that's what you need to give a monkey minifigure. Now, we have had a primate animal costume before. We've had a gorilla suit. This is not a gorilla, and a gorilla is not a monkey, because apes and monkeys are not the same thing. You can tell that because this dude's got a tail, and it is a brilliant little tail piece. But I have to say, of all of this minifigure, the thing that really stands out the most here is this face printing. And alongside the koala, this is one of the stronger faces. So if we take a look at this guy, on one side of his face, he is sticking out his tongue. He is a cheeky little monkey. He is just running around being a little bit of a scamp. And then you turn him around and he's got a plaster on his face and he's maybe even chipped a tooth. It looks like he's been through the wars a little bit. It is clear that being a cheeky monkey has got him into trouble and he's had a little bit of a fight. And doesn't that just feel absolutely perfect for a monkey minifigure? So in terms of the face printing there, this one is right up there at the top. In fact, I might even like this one more than the koala face, which was my previous favorite, because this is just so clever. It tells a full story in a single minifigure, which is not easy to do, so kudos to the designers for doing that here. Next in the lineup, we have this macaw parrot, and this is another one that's potentially going to be very useful if you want to make your own little carnivale scene, your own little Mardi Gras. This is going to be a fun one. I love this one. It's got so much detail to it. It feels like a little bit of extra thought went into this one because it's got a fairly standard head here. The mask is, you know, quite normal, and then it's got printing that reflects this kind of parroty design. It feels very carnivale, doesn't it, with the big blue blue eyeshadow here. A wonderful, wonderful thing there. And then you've got the wings here, which have got printing on them to give them different colors. That's such a nice touch. Printing on the front and printing on the back, and then dual molded legs. And then on the back, you've got a pair of different cloth elements that you put one on top of the other between the legs and the torso in order to give her some plumage and like layers of feathers. And I think that is so neat. That is a wonderful thing. It didn't need to be two elements. It could have just been the one, but they went the extra mile there. And with this one, I think of all of the unique elements in here for accessories, the things that are fundamentally different to what you get from anyone else, I like this one best because it is the biggest of them. It's a printed piece which has got parrot food on it. And, well, parrot food might be the simplest and most basic possible thing to give a parrot minifigure. At least it's a little bit more thought out than some of these, better than a sunflower in that it actually seems like it fits with the minifigure. But all around, this one feels like it's had a lot of thought put into it, and that absolutely shows in the design. Next up, we've got the cat, and I feel like this one is one which is paying direct homage to a previous minifigure. We recently got the cat lover in another different collectible minifigure series, who came with a big fluffy white cat and then also a little pink ball of yarn. And this minifigure is a fluffy white cat and has a pink ball of yarn as her accessory. And if you look at the design of her mask with these little tufts on the side, it looks so much like that fluffy cat that I feel like this is a deliberate attempt to tie this into the previous minifigure. If it's not deliberate, it feels so close that you could definitely put these two on display next to each other and they will definitely feel like they are part of the same little family. One nice thing about the printing on this minifigure, she's got a little sleepy face on one side, she's got the generic raised eyebrow minifigure, female minifigure smirk on the other side, but she's also got a little beauty mark on her top lip, and that is nice to have because I always like to see different kinds of faces represented in Lego form, and different little moles or visible differences on the face go a long way to making each of these feel like unique characters, and also to helping people see themselves in Lego form. You can imagine a lot of women who have maybe a beauty mark or a mole on their top lip are going to look at this and say, ah, finally, the minifigure face for me, and so that is always brilliant to see. Moving from one kind of big cat to a completely different kind of big cat, we have the lion, and wouldn't you know it, this one has that huge impressive mane that you would expect of a male lion, and so it just looks fantastic. This is one of the stronger ones. I can imagine this design showing up in a lot of places moving forward. You know how the Lego group will like to merchandise a lot of these collectible minifigures in different ways. I can see this one as a cuddly plush. I can see this one on lunch boxes or as a mascot costume at Legoland or something like that, alongside a few of these others that just feel like they were designed for that kind of ubiquity, that kind of almost mascot approach where they become a face for Lego. I love the design of the mane in particular, and it's got all of these spikes to it that give it this feeling of being big and bushy and really filled with hair, which is wonderful. The tail is brilliant. I love the way that it flicks out behind him. The accessory with this one is a little bit lackluster. It's a chicken leg. Fine, yeah, because lions like to eat because they're carnivores, fair enough. The printing on the torso is fairly simplistic. It does have printing on the feet as well. And then you've got the face, which is brilliant. We've got freckles again. We've got a kind of an angry or like a cheeky kind of smirk there on the one side, and then you turn him around and he's roaring, and that is the face that you want for a lion. We've only got two more left. The next one up is the goldfish. I really love the goldfish. This one I think is probably the cutest of all of these. Again, we've got smaller legs here, so we're dealing with a slightly younger minifigure or a slightly shorter minifigure, but I definitely get the vibe that this is a younger character from her face alone, because if I take off her little hood here, if you look at this on the one side, she's smiling away and she's having a brilliant old time, and if you turn around on the other side, she's just got the biggest grin, eyes closed, mouth open wide. She's so happy. She's just excited to be here, and I love that. I love the vibe that this minifigure gives off. And so you put this kind of slightly gormless, glassy-eyed, fish-eyed minifigure face on there, the mask on, and she's just so happy. She's like, look at me, I'm in a little goldfish costume, and I love it. I love the flippers on this one. They're really good. I love the tail and the additional fin that is on the mask here. I had a really hard time telling which side of this was meant to be the front and which was meant to be the back. I do not think it matters. I ultimately figured it out purely because they've got the little mark on the neck here that shows which is supposed to be the front for when they're doing the printing of the minifigures in the factory, and that's how I could tell the front from the back. It doesn't matter, otherwise it really doesn't matter. Now, I feel like the ideal accessory for this one would have been the bubble blower, right? Give that to this one rather than the frog. There's just one problem with that. She's got flippers, she doesn't have hands, so she wouldn't actually be able to hold the bubble blower. So instead, her accessory is a little pot of fish food, and we've got some custom printing on there for that. I think that's very nice. I would love for people to sneak this one into the background of that aquarium Lego set, just kind of somewhere in the background so that it's not easily spottable, so that it's not the first thing that you notice, but people are then looking at the set and are going, oh, hang on, there's a little goldfish minifigure hiding in there. Finally, the last one of these, we've got the Dalmatian. This is not the first Lego dog costume that we've had in a collectible minifigure series, because we've had the French Bulldog previously, which is a brilliant little build, but this one is a completely different breed of dog, and so it doesn't feel like the Lego group is repeating things here, because this dog is so fundamentally different that if you were to put these two breeds of dog next to each other and you didn't know that they were both dogs, you might think that they were completely different species anyway, and it shows in the way that this has been put together as a minifigure as well. So we've got, again, a unique mask element here, which feels very Dalmatian-y. It's covered in spots. That's brilliant. The tail here is, I've seen it before in various different dinosaur minifigures with the T-Rex and the Triceratops. They come to mind first. It's maybe not perfect for a Dalmatian, but it's close enough that no one's really gonna complain. The accessory is a frisbee, because dogs like frisbees, and well done to them for not just giving it a bone, because you could just give this minifigure a bone and call it a day, but instead we've got something that's slightly different here, and because it's got that printing on it, it doesn't just need to be a frisbee for a doggo, it could also be given to any other minifigure that you maybe want to give it as part of a scene. So I feel like this is going to be a fairly versatile little tiled element here with some printing on it that can be used in a variety of different places. The rest of the minifigure could turn up in other places, you never know. We could get a recolor of this mask and it could be a completely different dog. The first thought that came to my mind is that if we did get it in a recolor, it would be perfect for creating that scene from The Shining, but I don't think we're going to get that in an official Lego set anytime soon. I might be wrong. Get on it, Lego Ideas fans. Anyway, that is series 28 of the collectible minifigures. Which of these are your favourites? Let us know in the comments down below. And while you're there, do all of the rest of the YouTube things. Give this video a thumbs up, hit subscribe and the notification bell. If you want to go minifigure hunting yourself, you can download the Brick Search app from the iOS store or the Google Play Store. That will allow you to scan the boxes and figure out which of these minifigures are in which box. Just helps a lot when you are trying to collect all of these characters. As said, that app has a bunch of functions beyond just minifigure collecting, so definitely have an explore in there because you're going to find all kinds of cool stuff you can do with it, including saving money on other Lego sets. Speaking of which, if you're going to be purchasing anything from the Lego website in the near future, there is an affiliate link in the description or a QR code that is currently on screen. They take you straight to the Lego website and we get a percentage of the sale when you purchase through those links. So please do use those, it genuinely helps out the channel. You can go to brickfanatics.com for coverage of all things Lego, and you can sign up to our newsletter so that you never miss anything Lego related ever again. Thank you very much for watching this video and have a wonderful day.